So Brian McFadden was on, former defensive back and all that. Brian McFadden was on our radio station recently, and he said something very interesting, that he had talked to Patrick Peterson, and Peterson had said that he'd like to play for the Falcons. Huh? What? Yeah. Patrick Peterson. Okay. Now, we've talked about the direction a little bit of the cornerback situation here, right? Okay. Here's the big thing that they have to decide on. Okay. Casey Hayward has a $7 million cap hit next year. The dead cap number is $2 million. You could save yourself $5 million. Okay. But if you do that, you got to go out and sign a quarterback, a cornerback. You have to, and I think you need another veteran beside AJ Terrell. I don't think you're going to draft a rookie cornerback and you plug him in right away. So you got to go out and sign a cornerback. So we talked about the idea of, I would rather just keep Casey Hayward on the roster. I would with all due respect, for $7 million, I know he's coming back from injury and things like that, but he's still a productive guy. If I can, we talked about this with Jalen Ramsey a week or two ago. If I can get Patrick Peterson, who the estimates are, it would be like a 1 year, $6.5 to $7 million deal. Take that all day long. I'll take that all day long. If I could have, again, Casey Hayward, AJ Terrell, Patrick Peterson, I'll take that secondary. I'll take those three guys. I've upgraded over Isaiah Oliver at my nickel corner spot. And, you can keep the Darren Halls and all those guys around, stuff like that. But I've upgraded at my nickel corner spot. I've upgraded at my number 2 corner spot. And now I'm ready to roll. And I do think that finding a dynamic second corner to play with AJ Terrell, if that's Jalen Ramsey, you got to trade for. But, with Patrick Peterson, it's money. And the Falcons have the money. Even if you spent $7.5 million on a 1 year deal, I'd take that. Your pass defense is instantly better. And that even helps your pass rush out. If you can cover and you've got a good secondary, your pass rush is going to be better. And then you hope that with Jerry Gray in the mix, we talked about this yesterday, that, he was in Seattle when Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor were rookies. And I'm not comparing Grant and, Hawkins to Chancellor and Earl Thomas, I should say. But if he can get those guys to be better, if he can elevate their play, and we get a good second corner to go along with all of this, then we're in good shape. Our back half of our defense is fixed. And if Patrick Peterson wants to play here, brother, I'm going to hold my arms out and say, come on, man. Come on. And this is where Terry Fontenot, has to be aggressive with these things. And look, when you're in free agency, you always overspend for players. Always. 1,000% of the time. And people are going to look at, oh, well, he's not worth $7. It doesn't matter. You always overspend for players. You have to pay a premium to get them to come to your franchise, especially for a franchise that's not been successful. You have to overpay for guys every time. That's free agency. That's what the guys want. So, we talked about the idea of, look, the money's going to get spent very quickly. $56 to $65 million. It's going to get spent really quick. And you need guys to fill up your roster. But again, if I sign a Patrick Peterson, and by the way, he had like his third highest grade from for Pro Football Focus. I think it was like his third highest overall grade of his career or something like that. So the numbers are still there. I mean, he certainly didn't do anything, I mean, he certainly played well in Minnesota for a defense that wasn't very good, but his numbers actually graded out pretty good. But again, when we talk about where this roster is, if at that point I signed Patrick Peterson, I've upgraded at two positions. If I keep Hayward, who I think can still play, and he's under contract, okay? So you still have the $56 million without having to cut Casey Hayward. Now the $56 million is still based upon having Casey Hayward under contract. And if you cut Mariota, what you're going to cut Mariota, then it's still, 65 million, whatever, add 12 million onto all of that number. And I upgraded two positions. I upgraded my second corner and I upgraded my nickel corner. And at 34 years old, maybe the reality is you've got to play Casey Hayward more at nickel. I think he can be a competent second corner, but if I can upgrade there, then I've upgraded to two positions. And all it cost me was money. All it cost me was some money. Oh, well, guys, you can't overpay. You have to overpay. That's what free agency is. Dante Fowler was a $56 million player who'd had one good season in his NFL career, 111 sack season, and he got $56 million from the Falcons. You always overpay. Ray Edwards, you always overpay for free agents. So don't get hung up on, they got to get him for $5 million. No, you have to overspend. You have to go out and get these guys. What do you think Daron Payne is? If Daron Payne is in the mix, what do you think he's going to play for? Fish heads and rice? Think he's going to play for, a mook salary? No, these guys want to get paid. That's why they get a bidding war going. That's why they're free agents. And if you have to spend a couple of million more to bring a guy in, then be aggressive and do that. If a guy says, a former NFL player who's now an analyst, he gets on our afternoon drive radio show and he says, yeah, Patrick Peterson would like to play for the Atlanta Falcons. I've talked to him about it. Well, hell, get a deal going. Let me be the arbitrary. I'll represent Terry. I'll go to knock on his door. Hello, Pat. Hey, how you doing, man? Come play for the Falcons. Can we get you a year, $7.5 million? Come play for the Falcons. And I've upgraded to two positions. Two. Because I'm better in two spots. And especially spots where I need to be better, right? Given our dreadful pass defense and things like that. And so if I can upgrade there and I can get Jerry Gray to coach up Hawkins and Grant to just even where they're one or two steps better for all of this, I'm in good shape. Let me get Patrick Peterson. Let me get Jalen Ramsey. Let's be dynamic in the offseason and turn this thing around. All right, besides making Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen every day, make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. Biggest stories of the day, instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. It's available Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get all of your favorite podcast platforms from.